I have an amazing group of friends, 7 people from university. We met in our second year and have been super close ever since. For context, we go to a relatively expensive college with no scholarship, so it's safe to assume all of us are somewhat well off. When we were first getting to know each other, we often went out for brunch and drinks and split the bill most of the time. However, I've been brought up to never let others pay and would offer to cover the bill whenever I could. No one else offered to cover, but I believe it's just not common where they're from. A few months ago, we were talking about our parents' occupations, and I told them about my family. A quick Google search of my name brings up my father's page. However, they had never connected the dots regarding our relation. My father is well known in the real estate industry and makes quite a bit of money. Since then, I've been labeled as the rich friend in our group. Whenever we go shopping, I'm expected to buy expensive items for myself and Uber everywhere instead of using public transport. When I do shop cheaper, it becomes a spectacle. I also feel guilty whenever I pull out only my portion in cash, since I can tell it makes everyone else uncomfortable to then dig through their bags for their share. Therefore, I often just end up covering anyway. A few weeks ago, it was one of my friend's 21st birthday, and I told him I would pay for any activity as a birthday gift. We went out and had a nice dinner as a group. I didn't mind since I offered. What bothered me was when I turned 20 recently and was hoping my friends would take care of me for one day. I usually never have this expectation, but I was really let down since I always seem to be the one treating everyone else, even on my special day. My last straw was when we went on vacation recently to my home country. They, as usual, made plans for a pub crawl night. I initially didn't intend on going since I had scheduled dinner with my parents later that night. I eventually caved and ended up going for only a few hours. During that time, I had maybe one drink but hadn't eaten all night. I decided to call it a night after 2 hours to go have dinner with my family. Before I was leaving, however, one of my friends asked if I could quickly cover the tab before I left. I would have usually agreed, but this circumstance felt different since I hadn't eaten and barely drank. I also didn't want to come in the first place. This time, it seemed like they were trying to use me to pay, even if it was unintentional. I simply said I would, but left without paying. I got a text later from one of them saying, "I thought you said you paid, lol. How was dinner?" We brushed over that instance quite easily, but their behavior from that night still bothers me. It seems like I have become the rich friend character that always pays for their friends. How do I fix this without seeming like an AH? To add, thank you so much for the advice, guys. As of now, the best option seems to be to blame it on a third party, even if that may not be so kind to my dad, haha. I might bring up that I have an allowance so I can start cutting back on expenses. To clarify a few details, I have been brought up to pay for others when they also do the same. It is always a nice gesture that has gone both ways. The reason I am starting to resent it is because it now seems one-sided. More than the money, what bothers me is the realization that my group of friends may never treat me, and I am always the one to splurge on them. It seems inherently one-sided. When I mentioned purchasing expensive items, I meant for myself. It has become almost a brand identity that I have no intention of continuing. Whenever I don't spend much money, they pass comments like, "Oh, Miss Private Jet is using public transport," or when I repeat outfits, "Don't you have enough money to have a new outfit every day?" There were never remarks like this earlier. I'm sure they mean it as a joke, but these comments just get to me sometimes, since even normal activities I do are put under the spotlight now. It also adds to this archetype I am trying to separate myself from. My behavior has never changed upon being given the label. I get that it can easily become a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I have made sure to stay the same. Rather, it seems that my actions now are fitted to the title and attributed to it. The conversation regarding our backgrounds was bound to come up as we were getting to know each other. It was inevitable, and I couldn't hide it. Being secretive would imply it is a big deal when it's not. I gave brief details, however, they ran with it. Lastly, I also realize I may have written this post quite strongly. I am unsure as to whether their behavior is intentional or they seriously have no idea. I guess the only way to find out is to inform them eventually. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. We go to a relatively expensive college with no scholarship, so you assumed they're well off? They can take loans to go there as well. A. They're not your friends. Maybe they are to you, but you are not to them. B. You're their wallet. C. Cut them out. However, I've been brought up to never let others pay and would offer to cover the bill whenever I could, and they're using you. I can tell it makes everyone else uncomfortable to then dig through their bags for their share. Don't give a frick, girl. They're literally using you. Of course they're uncomfy. Their wallet is not walleting. Not the idiot. Comment 2. I am 20 years old and have an amazing group of friends. 7 people. From university. No, you don't. You are a group's wallet, and nobody gives a crap about you, nor have any respect. Wake up and find people who don't care what's in your wallet, but care what's in your mind. You are wasting time and money on people who do not appreciate it because they feel entitled to it. The worst kind of people. So congratulations, you have your first lesson in friendships and how money ruins it. Not the idiot, but get some self-respect. Seems that even big money can't buy it. Now for the update, I'm gonna just jump straight in here because I feel like I have a lot to unpack. So about a month after my original post, I got this text from one of my friends talking about planning a group trip for spring break. I mean, typical college stuff, right? The rest of the group jumped on board, suggesting like a beach destination, and they even mentioned splitting costs. I just couldn't shake this feeling of unease. Like, I vividly remembered how I'd always ended up covering way more than my share in the past. So, during a video call to discuss the trip, one of my friends joked about me being the bank. Yeah, that was the moment I realized how uncomfortable I was with this whole situation. I just had that sinking feeling in my stomach. It was like, here we go again. So, the group agreed to look for an affordable Airbnb. But of course, I noticed they weren't even considering their own budgets. It was all about what I could afford, as usual. I even suggested a less expensive destination, and they just dismissed it, saying it wouldn't be as fun. I mean, come on, guys. I'm just trying to save us all some money here. A week later, my parents hosted a family dinner to celebrate their anniversary. I invited a couple of friends to join, hoping for a more relaxed atmosphere. But of course, my friends arrived an hour late. I had to explain the delay to my parents, and I could just see the disappointment in their eyes. It was so awkward. During dinner, my friends kept making these jokes about my family's wealth. Like they were just constant. They made comments about our house, our cars, our vacations. It was just so over the top. My dad tried to lighten the mood by teasing them about their own families, but one of my friends shot back with a snide remark, saying how I probably didn't understand what it was like to struggle financially. I felt the atmosphere just shift. It was like everything went cold. After dinner, I pulled that friend aside to address the comment. I was like, what the hell was that about? But they just shrugged it off, saying it was just a joke and that I was too sensitive. I was so frustrated, but I just dropped it. I wanted to enjoy the rest of the evening and not ruin it for my parents. A few days later, the group met for brunch to discuss the spring break trip again. I mentioned wanting to set a budget, but my friends laughed, suggesting that I would cover any extra costs. At that point, I just felt so cornered. I pointed out how they always expected me to pay, and one friend even accused me of being stingy. They were like, "You can afford to be generous." I just lost it. An argument broke out, and I felt completely ganged up on and misunderstood. I had to leave the brunch early. I just couldn't take it anymore. A few days later, I got a group chat message inviting everyone to a birthday party for one of my friends. I hesitated to RSVP. Just thinking back to the earlier confrontation made me anxious. Eventually, I decided to go, wanting to at least maintain some semblance of friendship. At the party, the atmosphere was just so tense. I noticed the same friend who made those earlier comments was avoiding me. During the party, someone proposed playing a game that involved sharing embarrassing secrets. I felt uneasy about participating. I remembered other times when my family background had been used against me, and I just didn't want to deal with that again. One friend shared a secret about a financial struggle, and that led to the group discussing money openly. I saw this as my opportunity to finally address my experiences, but I hesitated. I could just sense the judgment hanging in the air. After the game, I overheard whispers about my family situation, and it just reignited my frustration. I decided to step outside for some fresh air and to collect my thoughts. While I was out there, another friend joined me. They expressed concern about how the group was treating me. I felt such relief at their support. I was still wary of the group's dynamics, though. That friend suggested that I talk to the group about my feelings, but I just wasn't sure. A week later, I found out that one of my friends had been planning to approach me about all of this. They invited me for coffee to discuss the group tension. I agreed to meet, hoping for some clarity and resolution. At the coffee shop, that friend opened up about feeling pressured to spend money and said the group really needed to address their expectations. But before they could finish, another friend unexpectedly walked in and interrupted the conversation. Like, really? The situation just escalated as more friends showed up, and I felt the weight of the discussion hanging in the air. It was one of those moments where you just know you're about to have a big confrontation and you're not sure how it's all going to play out. Mini update. The conversation escalated quickly. They confronted me about my wealth, claiming it made them uncomfortable. I felt attacked. They suggested I find new friends. The tension was palpable. I left abruptly. Later, I received a text asking for a loan for their spring break trip. I refused. They expressed disappointment, claiming I could afford it. I reiterated my discomfort with being the only one expected to pay. They ignored my concerns, still asking for the loan. I feel isolated and frustrated. Am I the idiot for telling my best friend to stop punishing me for her ex-boyfriend's actions? Am I the idiot for calling out my best friend for punishing me over her boyfriend's actions? My friend Allie and I have been friends since we were 15 years. She's my oldest friend. We're different, but that's always worked for us. When Allie started dating her ex, Jake, I was really happy for her. Jake was fun, interesting, and he pulled Allie out of her shell, which was nice to see. The three of us would do a lot together since Jake and I had similar interests. For a while, we were a good trio. I freely admit I was a bit blind to the signs that Jake was infatuated with me. I thought he was a nice guy who was trying to make his girlfriend's chronically single friend feel included. A lot of people noticed it. I thought they were overreacting and being disrespectful to Allie. It was only when my roommate mentioned it that I started to think seriously about it. Unfortunately, it was too late to do anything because Jake made a move on me less than a week after that conversation. It was actually fairly public, so it wasn't even me that had to be the one to tell Allie. Allie and I did talk about it, and I thought we were sticking together. She even came and stayed with me for 3 weeks after the breakup. I did everything I could to support her, but after 4 months, it never seems to be enough. She is constantly making comments about me, what I wear, how I act. Everything I do just seems to annoy her. She keeps pointing out everything I do, saying that is what gives guys the wrong idea. She doesn't seem to like going places with me anymore either. If we go out together, she leaves early if I get male attention, which I don't invite. I've taken her out for spa days, dinners, done everything I can to make her feel special, but I'm sick of feeling like Hester Prynne. This came to a head on Sunday when I went to Allie's housewarming party. She greeted me, but I could see something was off, so I just left her to it and talked to other people. While I was talking to one of her colleagues, Ally pulled me aside and asked me to change my outfit because it was drawing attention. Spoiler, it was not. I refused to change into clothes she wanted to lend me, so she said I had to leave, and that after what happened with Jake, she thought I would try to be more conscious of how I am. I kind of lost it and told her she needs to stop punishing me for what Jake did, because I didn't do anything. I reminded her that she didn't see anything wrong either, so it's not like I was the only naive one, and that she was the person who brought him into my life, not the other way around. I said I was sick of her acting like she a victim of something I did, and that she is being a brat. And then I left. My roommate feels I'm absolutely in the right and has been sick of how she treats me since she stayed with us. But I feel bad. The whole situation was messed up, and maybe I'm not giving Allie enough grace for feeling weird around me now. But at the same time, she could just take some space rather than being rude to me. I don't know. Am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Even giving Allie all the grace in the world for dealing with being jealous of your looks after what her shitty boyfriend put you both through. She could just take some space rather than being rude to me. You are 100% right. It sounds like you've been an amazing friend. Allie is being a bad friend. Take the space you need from her shitty behavior, and hopefully she will eventually come around and apologize and work toward repairing your friendship. I also want to say that I think women can feel trapped in this stereotypical shallow social dynamic of the hot one versus the plain, ugly, whatever one. And it sounds like this could be part of your friend's insecurity right now, which is 100% not your fault. But society sucks. I hope she is able to work on herself. Comment 2. Not the idiot. This is the classic blame the other woman situation, even though you weren't actually the other woman as you didn't accept Jake's advances. I understand that she's hurt at what Jake did, but you are not responsible for his actions, so she needs to be mad at him, which I'm sure that she is, but she's taking it out on you. You are correct that she needs to take some time away from you rather than making snide comments or saying that you're inviting male attention by the way you dress. Now for the update. 2 days after the party, I got a text from Allie asking if we could meet up. Not gonna lie, I was a bit nervous, but I agreed to meet her at this local diner we used to go to all the time before everything went crazy. It felt familiar and like a safe spot, you know? I got there a bit early just to mentally prepare myself for whatever was gonna happen. So Allie arrived looking super tense. Like, if there was a scale from chill to stressed out, she was way past stressed. She immediately apologized for how she acted at the party, which I thought was a good start, but also like, why did it take you so long to get here? She mentioned feeling lost since her breakup with Jake. I get it, breakups suck, but I was lost too with how she treated me. Then she confessed that she felt embarrassed about how she acted toward me. Well, a little late for that realization, huh? I listened as she explained her struggle to move on from Jake. Apparently, it was a real struggle because she's still in contact with him. I was like, seriously? You're still talking to this dude? That surprised me more than anything. She told me she had seen him at a bar the night before, and he told her he regretted the breakup and missed her. Now, I don't know if I was ready for all these mixed signals, but there it was. Ally told me that Jake wanted to get together to talk about their relationship. Now she was asking me if she should meet up with him. I kind of dodged that question, suggesting she focus on herself first. I mean, she did just get out of a relationship, and she was acting all over the place, but she insisted I be honest, which is rich coming from her. I told her that what Jake did hurt me, but that I cared about her. She started getting all defensive, accusing me of not supporting her. I was like, wait, hold on. I'm trying to look out for my best friend here, but she was having none of it. Then she raised her voice, and I was like, this is a diner, not a stage for a one-woman show. I felt so embarrassed. I asked her to lower her voice, but she just kept going. At this point, the staff was looking over, and I could feel every single eye in the place on us. It was so uncomfortable. Ally abruptly stood up and left the diner, basically leaving me there alone. I couldn't believe it. I texted my roommate about the whole mess. She was like, let's get our minds off of this, and suggested we invite some friends over. I agreed, just wanting to distract myself from the drama. I texted a few close friends to come over. When my friends came over that night, I spilled the tea on what happened with Ally. One of my friends mentioned seeing Jake out again, this time with another girl. I was like, oh, heck no. The friends were all riled up, encouraging me to confront Ally about Jake's behavior. I was torn because I didn't want to add fuel to the fire. But at the same time, I knew my friend needed to know. The next day, I decided to reach out to Ally again. I invited her over for coffee, hoping we could talk this whole mess through. She came over looking visibly upset and was holding back tears. I felt my heart drop because I knew we had to address the big issue. I calmly asked her about the girl Jake was seen with. Allie revealed that she had seen the same girl at the bar with Jake. She confessed that she felt hurt and confused about his mixed signals. I told her she deserved better than someone who played games with her heart. Then, all of a sudden, she announced that she was done with Jake for good. Edit. I learned that Ally texted Jake after our meeting, confronting him about the girl. He confessed it was a date, but claimed he still wanted her. She finally blocked him. Am I the idiot for refusing to attend my friend's events because my abusive ex will be there? Am I the idiot for refusing to attend my friend's event because my narcissistic ex will be there? I, 28-year-old female, dated an emotionally hurtful narcissist, 28-year-old male, for nearly 3 years before we eventually had an ugly breakup early in 2023. He would boast about being the most successful, smartest person he knew, including me, would belittle major achievements, getting into grad school, and chastised me about my body, being in therapy, taking antidepressants, and anything else under the sun. He would scream, slam doors, lecture me for hours, and gaslight me to the point where I started having memory lapses. My self-esteem was slowly stripped away, and I have been left with years of trauma to process. Of course, there were a lot of good times, most of them being with his best friend and his best friend's wife. We'll call them Bob and Linda, both in their early 30s. Linda and I got close over the years as we were all constantly having date nights and took several trips together. We eventually started hanging out, just the two of us. Throughout the breakup, she was supportive and made sure I knew it in no way affected our friendship. I'm good friends with Bob as well, but always painfully aware that he's my ex's best friend. Last week, Bob sent out an invite for a beach day for Linda's birthday. I checked the guest list, and my ex was also invited. I texted Linda and told her that since he'll likely be there, I wouldn't be able to make it. Instead, I'd love to take her out to dinner, just the two of us. She agreed and said she hopes one day I could be around him, but didn't push the issue. Bob texted me shortly after, saying Linda really wants me there, and he hopes I'll reconsider because I'm important to both of them. I politely told him my mind was made up. I saw Linda that Friday and confirmed again in person that missing the event was okay, and she said it was, but worries about bigger events like a potential baby shower. She and Bob have been trying to conceive for years, and I reassured her that there was nothing in the world that could keep me from coming to her baby shower, even if it were co-ed. I had previously told Bob that I'd come to their place for Sunday dinner the same weekend, but was not aware of the talking to I'd get. He told me that he and Linda don't even see me as being associated with my ex anymore, that my ex has moved on and doesn't talk about it anymore, and that there's no reason to believe attending the same event would cause any issues. Bob and Linda don't know everything about our relationship, but they know plenty. Linda eventually told him to drop it when he persisted, to the point of me being in tears. I told him it was frustrating that I've moved on romantically, but that I still have years of emotional abuse to work through. The whole talk felt like Bob was saying everyone else had moved on and questioned why I couldn't as well. Part of me feels like I should just deal with it and attend the event, while knowing that seeing my ex not having a care in the world after traumatizing me would set me back months. Another part is wondering if true friends would ever ask this of me. Am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Take a firm step back from Linda and Bob. Bob is still very much your ex's best friend, and he will prioritize that over your well-being. It's likely that your ex is bothering Bob about you. It's also very concerning that Bob doesn't seem to care at all about what happened to you in the relationship and can still look at your ex with any respect. Hey, going forward, after the incident at dinner, I will be taking a step back as my healing from everything my ex did to me is more important at this stage to my continued mental health. Comment 2. Not the idiot, but if your ex was emotionally hurtful and Linda is aware of this, why is he invited to her birthday party? Hell, if I found out one of my friends was emotionally hurtful to their romantic partners, I would rethink that friendship, even if that partner was not also one of my closest friends. I get that Linda's husband is friends with your ex, but why does that mean he has to attend Linda's birthday party? especially when it's down to her husband's friend and one of her closest friends. Now, for the update. I'm still not sure how I feel about the whole thing, but I guess there's no harm in sharing. I attended a barbecue with my ex after telling my friend I wasn't ready. It's been a journey, to say the least, and recently I got a text from Linda inviting me to a barbecue at her house. At first, I hesitated. After everything that happened at the beach party last month, I wasn't sure if I was ready to dive back into these social circles. But it was a casual gathering, and I figured I could handle it. So I decided to go. On the day of the barbecue, I baked a dessert and brought it with me. To be honest, I felt both anxious and excited. I just hoped it would be a good day. When I arrived, the atmosphere was lively with laughter and music playing in the background. It felt nice to see people enjoying themselves. But then, as I was scanning the crowd, I spotted my ex across the yard, chatting with Bob. My stomach dropped. I couldn't believe he was there. I had just gotten over the fact that Linda and Bob invited him to their parties. Now, I was in the same room as him. I felt like I was going to be sick. Linda greeted me warmly when I walked in, completely unaware of my discomfort. She gave me a hug and thanked me for coming. I forced a smile and said I was glad to be there. But in the back of my mind, I was panicking. Bob came over shortly after, making a joke about how great it was to see me. He completely ignored the obvious issue. I tried to engage in conversation, but all I could think about was my ex. As the evening went on, I felt the urge to leave, but I didn't want to offend Linda, so I stuck it out. During dinner, I sat at the far end of the table, doing my best to avoid eye contact with him. It was awkward, to say the least. Bob raised a toast, celebrating friendship, and everyone cheered, but I felt so isolated. After dinner, while cleaning up, Bob nudged me playfully, urging me to join the group playing cornhole outside. I reluctantly joined, but I felt increasingly uncomfortable watching my ex laugh and joke with everyone. At one point, he walked over to me and asked how I had been. I kept my response short and polite, but inside, I was screaming. It took everything in me to keep it together. Bob tried to lighten the mood by suggesting we play teams, with my ex on his side. I felt trapped. So I opted out, saying I needed a drink from the kitchen. Linda followed me into the kitchen and asked if I was okay. She sensed my discomfort and wanted to help. I explained that I wasn't ready to face my ex and felt pressured by Bob's insistence. She insisted I talk to Bob about how I felt, but I didn't want to. I already felt awkward enough. I returned to the gathering with a forced smile, trying to blend in. Just as I began to relax, my ex made a comment about how he missed having me around. I was caught off guard. Everyone looked at me, waiting for a response. I managed a weak smile and mumbled something about being busy before quickly changing the subject. As the night went on, I noticed Bob and Linda whispering and glancing my way. It raised my anxiety. I decided to sneak away to the bathroom to collect myself. While in there, I overheard Bob and Linda discussing my anxiety about my ex. I felt my heart race as I listened. Bob's voice was frustrated. He thought I should be over it and stopped hiding. That hit hard. They didn't understand the depth of my struggles. I took a deep breath and composed myself before returning to the gathering. Everyone was still there, and I tried my best to act normal. The night ended with everyone saying their goodbyes, and Bob gave me a hug, insisting we talk soon. I left feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about my friendship with Bob and Linda. A few days later, I got a text from Linda asking to meet up for coffee to discuss things. I knew this conversation was coming. During our coffee meeting, Linda expressed concern that I was shutting them out by avoiding events. I explained my feelings, but she seemed to think it was time to move on from the past. Our conversation escalated, and she accused me of not valuing our friendship. I felt cornered and had to defend myself, emphasizing my need for time and space. She ultimately suggested that if I couldn't handle it, maybe we needed some distance. That stung. I'm still reeling from how things went down with Linda and Bob. It's hard to come to terms with the fact that they don't get what I'm going through, and her suggestion to take distance really hurt. I guess I just thought they'd be more understanding. I know I need to focus on myself and keep healing, but this friendship feels like it's slipping away, and it's tough. I'm not sure what to do next, but I gotta figure it out for my own well-being. Thanks for reading. It means a lot. Edit. I want to clarify that the barbecue was not meant to exclude me from the friendship. I was also not pressured to attend. I initially felt ready, but I struggled with the reality of seeing my ex. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.